She arrived at the family dinner carrying the child he rejected, only to be drenched in dirty water by his mother. But when the truth of who she truly was finally surfaced, the room fell silent. No one expected the woman they mocked to own everything they depended on. The evening rain had barely stopped when Lara Benson stepped out of the black SUV, her hand resting protectively on her swollen belly. The streetlights cast a warm glow on the quiet estate, but her heart carried a familiar chill, one she had never fully escaped since her divorce 8 months earlier. Father Lord, as this story begins, place your mighty hand on the life of the person watching right now. Let every delay in their destiny break, let every hidden blessing rise, and let this be the moment their turnaround begins. And if you truly believe this prayer is for you, don't scroll past it. Subscribe to this channel right now as your step of faith, your confirmation that you are ready for the miracle you have destined for them. Amen. If this story resonated with you, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Before we continue, stop scrolling for just a second. Let me share something with you. Right now, most of you watching are here as visitors, ghosts passing through, not yet part of this family. And I get it. But here's the truth. If this story is resonating with you, if something in you connected with these words, if you felt anything, that's your sign. I'm asking you to take one small step right now. Subscribe. Not later. Not tomorrow. Right now while you're thinking about it. Because here's what happens. You'll scroll away, life gets busy, and when the next story drops, you'll miss it. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. So reach up, hit that subscribe button. Let it be your way of saying, yes. Yes to more stories like this, yes to being part of this community, yes to growth and truth. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting this channel, you're making a commitment to yourself and this journey we're on together. Don't just watch and leave. Be intentional. It takes 2 seconds, but it means everything. Hit subscribe now and you just made a choice to be part of something instead of just passing through. Welcome to the family. Now let's continue. She paused at the gate, inhaling the faint scent of wet dust and hibiscus, steadying her breath. She had been invited, no, summoned, to the Benson family dinner. The same family that had once welcomed her before turning their backs the moment their son pushed her aside for someone more fitting. Her fingers trembled slightly. She hated that they still did. You survived worse, Lara, she murmured under her breath. Inside her, the baby kicked lightly, almost as though reminding her she was not alone. A soft whisper escaped her lips. We're doing this for you. More importantly, she was doing it for truth, because tonight, without any of them knowing, the balance of power had already shifted. On the other side of the city, Daniel Benson, her ex-husband, stood before his mirror buttoning his wine-colored shirt with a smug half-smile. His phone buzzed. A message from Eva, the mistress he left his marriage for. Eva, hope you're ready. Tonight is going to be fun. She deserves whatever she gets. He chuckled softly. Relax, babe. She's the one who insisted on showing up. Maybe she finally wants closure. Or humiliation, Eva whispered as she stepped behind him, sliding her arms around his waist. Your mother already hates her. Trust me, she won't hold back. He didn't disagree. Lara had always been too calm, too quiet, too ordinary, according to him. Eva, on the other hand, was fire, bold, unapologetic, unpredictable. She made him feel alive. He leaned down, brushed a kiss across Eva's cheek and dropped his voice. After tonight, she'll stop clinging. She'll finally understand she's not one of us. Eva smirked, satisfied. But deep down, beneath the arrogance, beneath the ego, there was something Daniel could not name. Something unsettled him about Lara's sudden confidence these past few days. She walked differently. Spoke differently. Even the brief text message she sent accepting the dinner invitation had carried a calm assurance he didn't recognize. He shook it off. It's just stress, he muttered. At the Benson family home, laughter spilled from the living room. Daniel's mother, Mrs. Adana Benson, pointed at the plates on the dining table, urging the helpers to reposition them exactly to her taste. For goodness sake, she snapped, make sure her seat is the least comfortable. I don't even know why she's coming back here to disgrace herself. Her sister raised a brow. She was married to your son. She carried herself well. That girl is a curse, Adana hissed. She left my son barren in marriage for 4 years. 4 wasted years. No grandson, no lineage continuation. And now she's pregnant, her sister quietly noted. Mrs. Benson scoffed loud enough to shake the wine glasses. That pregnancy? Anybody can get pregnant if they try hard enough. The remark brought laughter from the relatives in the room. She won't last long here, Adana said with a prideful flick of her wrist. After tonight, she won't dare step foot into this house again. Outside the gate, Lara exhaled one final deep breath before the security man ushered her in. Every step felt heavy, not from fear but from the weight of unresolved wounds. Why did you agree to this dinner? She asked herself once again. Because they needed to see her face when the truth would finally break their arrogance. Because her child deserved more than lies. Because the world had changed and none of them knew. As she reached the door, she heard soft footsteps behind her. Lara? The voice was timid, familiar. She turned to see Kemi, Daniel's younger sister, the only Benson who ever showed her genuine kindness. Kemi's eyes darted downward to Lara's belly, widening in surprise. You're really pregnant. Lara nodded, gently placing a hand on her stomach. Kemi's throat bobbed as she swallowed. Does Daniel know? He assumes it's someone else's child, Lara replied with a calm smile. He never asked. Kemi's face crumpled with sadness. I'm sorry. For everything. You never wronged me. Lara touched her arm softly. Are you okay? But Kemi's answer died in her throat as the front door opened and Mrs. Benson emerged. Her eyes landed on Lara's baby bump first. Then on Lara's face. Then on Kemi's hand resting gently on Lara's arm. Her jaw tightened. What are you doing standing outside like a stubborn goat? Mrs. Benson snapped at her. Or are you waiting for rain to fall on your head again? Kemi stepped back, murmuring, Mum, please? But Mrs. Benson had already turned her back and walked inside with an air of command. Lara followed her silently. The moment she stepped into the living room, conversations died. Two aunts exchanged looks. A cousin muted her phone call mid-sentence. Even the house help froze. And then Daniel stepped in from the hallway, Eva clinging to his arm. Eva sneered. Well, look who finally remembered she existed. Daniel's eyes flickered briefly to Lara's belly, then back to her face with practiced indifference. So you came, he said. Lara nodded once. You invited me. Eva laughed lightly. I can't wait to see how tonight goes. Lara's expression didn't change. If anything, it grew calmer, almost serene. That serene calm was unsettling. To Daniel. To Eva. To Mrs. Benson. The storm they didn't expect was in the room already. As dinner was being served, Lara took her seat quietly, ignoring the whispers and stolen glances. She touched the edge of her cutlery, grounding herself. But beneath her calm exterior, a question lingered, one she knew every viewer watching this story would ask themselves. If you were in her place, would you fight back or would you walk away? Because tonight would change everything. Not for her. But for the family that believed she was nothing. And as Lara lifted her gaze across the table, her eyes locked with Daniel's, steady, unblinking, unreadable. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt something he had never associated with her. Fear. The dining room carried the aroma of roasted plantain, grilled turkey, and pepper soup simmering in the background, but beneath all that warmth was a tension so thick it clung to the air like humidity. Laughter fluttered weakly between relatives, but nobody missed the stiffness in Daniel's jaw, the smirk seated permanently on Eva's lips, or the icy disdain that radiated from Mrs. Benson like a second skin. Lara sat in silence, tracing gentle circles on her belly. Her child had grown more restless since she walked in, the kicks light but constant, almost as if sensing the turbulence around them. For a moment there was a lull. A quiet before the moment that would ignite everything. Mrs. Benson cleared her throat dramatically. Well, she announced loudly, let's welcome our former daughter-in-law who has suddenly decided she has unfinished business in our family. A few forced chuckles rose. Eva leaned onto Daniel's shoulder and cooed loudly, she probably misses you, babe. Who wouldn't? Especially now that she's, alone. Lara lifted her gaze calmly. She said nothing. Her silence irritated Mrs. Benson more than any insult could. Mrs. Benson clapped her hands sharply. Help me bring that bucket from the backyard. The one full of dirty mop water. Everyone blinked. Mummy, Kemi whispered, horrified. What are you doing with that? Mrs. Benson smiled wickedly. I want to show our visitor her true place. You don't walk into my house after disgracing my son and expect me to serve you food from my table. The room stiffened. Even Daniel shifted uneasily. Mum, that's too much. But Eva elbowed him subtly. No, it's fine. She deserves it. Mrs. Benson hissed dismissively. Bring the bucket. A house help hesitated before obeying. When the bucket arrived, the stench hit instantly, dirty mop water, leftover soap residue, grime floating at the surface. A few relatives covered their noses. Others looked away. Mrs. Benson stood, grabbed the bucket and walked behind Lara. Kemi jumped up. Mom, please. She's pregnant. So? Mrs. Benson spat. Pregnant for who? You think we don't know pregnancy doesn't mean anything these days? Anyone can get pregnant. Her voice rose, sharp with venom. She wasted 4 years of my son's life. And now she wants sympathy? Not in my house. Before anyone could protest again. Splash. The dirty water cascaded over Lara's head, soaking her hair, her blouse, her shoulders, her face. The stink filled her nostrils. The coldness bit deep into her skin. Brown water slid down her arms, dripping onto the tiled floor. Gasps exploded around the room. Eva burst into laughter so shrill it cut through the stunned silence. Oh my God. This is epic, she cackled. Look at her. She looks like a stray dog. Daniel chuckled, soft but audible. That's enough, Mum? But he wasn't moving. He wasn't helping. He wasn't standing up for her. He just sat there, wiping a tear of laughter from the corner of his eye. Kemi covered her mouth and sobbed openly. A few relatives shifted uncomfortably, but no one moved. No one except Lara. Slowly, she placed her palms on the table and pushed herself upright. Dirty water dripped down her body, forming a small puddle at her feet. Her voice, when it came, was steady, eerily so. Are you done? She asked softly. Mrs. Benson straightened her back defiantly. Oh, I'm just beginning. You think you can walk into my home with that belly and… Lara wiped her face gently with a napkin. Her eyes, clear, sharp, unbroken, met Mrs. Benson's without flinching. You are humiliating yourself, Lara said quietly. Eva scoffed. How? She just humiliated you. Lara ignored her. You poured dirty water on me, Lara continued, because you think I am powerless. But tonight will show you who truly has power. Mrs. Benson blinked in confusion. Daniel's smirk faltered. A strange ripple of unease traveled through the room. A baby kicked inside her once again, stronger this time. Lara placed her hand on her stomach, letting the paws hang in the air like a suspended secret. Then she looked around the table slowly, her tone composed. Before we eat, I was asked to make a small announcement. Eva rolled her eyes aggressively. Oh please. Spare us the drama. Lara nodded once. No problem. I'll keep it simple. She turned her gaze to Mrs. Benson. To begin with, Mrs. Benson, this house you are living in? The one your late husband built and put under Benson Holdings. Mrs. Benson's eyes narrowed. What about it? Lara inhaled calmly. I own it. The room exploded in murmurs. Daniel sat upright instantly. Mrs. Benson barked a laugh. You must be sick. This property belongs to the Benson family. No, Lara corrected gently. It belongs to Orion Group. And I now own Orion Group. Silence slammed into the room. Daniel blinked. Orion Group? As in the investment conglomerate? Yes. Lara's voice remained steady. My late grandfather left the company to my mother, who left it in my name. I took ownership officially 3 weeks after our divorce. Daniel's jaw dropped. Eva stared, confused. Wait, Orion? The Orion? The one that… Yes, Lara repeated. The one that employs half the people in this room. Including your mother. Including your cousins. Including your uncles. Including your company, Daniel. And yes, including the Benson estate maintenance staff and the entire supply chain you all depend on. Every eye widened. The shock was a physical thing, felt like air had been sucked out of the room. Mrs. Benson's spoons clattered to the floor. You're lying, she shrieked. Check your email, Lara said simply. Your annual contract renewal was sent this morning with my signature on it. Kemi gasped. You're the new CEO? Lara nodded. Daniel stood abruptly, his voice cracking. Why didn't you tell me? Lara looked at him deeply, painfully. You never asked. The words hit harder than any slap. Eva stepped back, fear flickering in her eyes. So, what happens now? Lara eventually turned toward Mrs. Benson. What happens now is simple. She lifted the napkin in her hand, still damp from wiping dirty water off her face, and placed it calmly on the table. You poured dirty water on the woman who signs your income. Gasp. Mrs. Benson staggered backward. Lara, oh wait, maybe we can talk. Lara shook her head. You humiliated me while laughing with people who depend on my company to survive. Her next words were precise. Measured. Devastating. As of tonight, every Benson family contract with Orion Group is suspended pending investigation. A deafening silence followed. Daniel choked on his breath. Lara, You can't do this, my company depends on. Oh, I can, she interrupted. And I already did. Mrs. Benson fell into a chair, trembling, her face drained of color. But why? She whispered, broken. Lara looked at her, not with anger, but with truth. Because you taught me that sometimes people only understand the consequences of their cruelty when the ground beneath them shifts. The room was frozen in shock. Then Lara added softly, and this is not revenge. This is correction. She turned to leave the table. But before she reached the door, she paused, and looked back at the viewers watching this story unfold. If humiliation was placed in your hands, would you return it? Or would you walk away with your dignity first? With that, she walked out, dripping but undefeated, leaving behind a room full of people who finally understood the weight of their mockery. A storm had begun, and none of them were ready. The night air outside the Benson estate was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain-soaked earth. Lara walked toward her car slowly, each step steady, each breath controlled. Dirty water had begun drying on her clothes, leaving faint brown stains, but none of it bothered her. Inside, her child had calmed. There was a peaceful stillness in her belly, almost as if her baby understood something powerful had just shifted. Behind her, the dining room had erupted into chaos. She could hear it even from outside. Daniel shouting. Eva crying. Relatives murmuring in fear. Mrs. Benson wailing like someone had died. But Lara kept walking. Until she heard her name. Lara. Lara, wait. Daniel's voice cut through the night. She stopped but did not turn. He jogged toward her, breathless, confusion plastered on his face. You can't just leave like that. She slowly faced him. I just did. Daniel swallowed hard. He stared at the stains on her clothes, the visible evidence of what his mother had done, and for a moment, guilt flickered in his eyes. But he hid it quickly. This is a misunderstanding, he said too quickly. Mum didn't mean it. She was upset. And you overreacted. Lara's eyebrows rose slightly. Overreacted. Daniel nodded, desperate. Yes. You didn't have to suspend contracts. That affects me. That affects my company. You could have talked to me first. You laughed, Lara said quietly. Daniel froze. Her voice softened but remained painfully steady. You laughed while your mother poured dirty water on your pregnant ex-wife. Daniel's throat tightened, but pride wouldn't let him admit it. I mean, it wasn't that serious. Lara stared at him as if she was finally seeing the truth she had ignored for years. Then your definition of serious and mine are not the same. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, maybe I shouldn't have laughed, but you blindsided me. You never said you were wealthy. You never said you owned anything. That's deception, Lara. She let out a tired sigh. You didn't ask. That's not the point. Daniel snapped. If you had told me, maybe our marriage wouldn't have ended. Maybe things would have been different. There it was. The resistance. The refusal to take responsibility. The desperate attempt to rewrite history. Daniel, she said softly, our marriage ended because you cheated, twice. Not because of money. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried a different angle. You should have told me about the pregnancy. You didn't give me the chance, she replied. You served divorce papers before my test results came back. And you blocked my number. Daniel looked away, jaw clenching. You're lying, he muttered weakly. Lara lifted her phone. I kept the messages. Every one you ignored. Daniel's face changed, shame, denial, anger, confusion all in a single blink. But he refused to crumble. You're doing this to punish me. No, she said. I'm doing this to protect myself and my child. Daniel shook his head. No. No, you're not leaving like this. He stepped closer and grabbed her arm, gently but possessively. Lara's body stiffened. Let go. Daniel hesitated. I said let go. He released her slowly, palms raised. Fine. Fine. But please come back inside. Let us handle this as a family. We can fix the contracts. We can talk. Mum will apologize. Inside the house, Mrs. Benson's voice pierced the air. Fix it, Daniel. Fix it. Tell her we didn't mean it. She can't suspend us. She can't. I raised you. I built everything for you. Then her scream cut through. I will not let that girl destroy this family. Lara turned toward the door. Why would I walk back into a room where I was treated like garbage? She asked. Daniel inhaled shakily. Because we were family. We're. Past tense. Lara didn't miss it. And family treats people that way? Lara asked, voice soft but laced with iron. Family stands by while a pregnant woman is humiliated? Daniel's eyes glistened, frustration spilling out. Fine, he burst. Maybe we made mistakes. But you're acting like you're perfect. Lara shook her head. No. I'm acting like someone who finally learned how to stop letting others step on her. He blinked. Is that what you think we did? That's what you did, she corrected. And tonight proved it. Daniel opened his mouth again, ready to argue, ready to deny, ready to bend the truth until it suited him. But something behind him snapped the moment into silence. Lara? It was Kemi. She approached slowly, fear and guilt in her eyes. She held out a clean shawl. I'm sorry, she whispered. You didn't deserve any of this. Lara took the shawl gently. Thank you. Kemi's lips trembled. Please, don't take the contracts away. Mum is acting out of fear. And stupidity. But she's human. We all are. Lara nodded once. I know. But consequences are also human. Kemi lowered her gaze. Daniel looked between them, frustration simmering at being ignored. So that's it? You're really walking away? I am. You're really going to punish all of us because Mum made a mistake? Mistake. Lara whispered. Daniel, she poured dirty water on me. And you laughed. He flinched. It's not that deep, he whispered. Lara stared at him. It is to me. And with that, she turned toward her car again. But Daniel followed once more. This is insane. You're being dramatic. You're blowing things up because you're emotional. It's the pregnancy messing with your head. That was the final straw. Lara turned fully, her eyes sharp as steel. Never blame my child for your actions. Daniel stepped back, startled at the firmness in her voice. For the first time he really looked at her, at the strength, at the calm, at the poise. And something inside him shook. You've changed, he murmured. No, Lara replied. I just stopped shrinking. She opened her car door. But before she got in, she looked at him one last time. Daniel, the difference between you and me is simple. He swallowed. What? I grew from the pain. You hid from it. And then she left him standing there with his pride, his denial, and the consequences he refused to face. As she drove away, the viewers of this unfolding story heard her soft reflection. When people show you who they truly are, how many chances do you give them before you walk away for good? Her headlights disappeared down the road, leaving Daniel stranded in the wreckage of his own choices, and leaving Mrs. Benson trembling inside the house, aware that her world had begun collapsing from the very foundation she had mocked. The resistance phase had begun, but the storm ahead would be even bigger. The next morning, the city was still wet from overnight rain. Lara parked outside a small, nondescript office building downtown, far from the Benson estate. Inside, the scent of coffee and polished wood filled the air. She adjusted her maternity coat, brushing a lock of damp hair behind her ear. She was here to finalize a few urgent corporate matters, but her mind kept replaying last night's chaos. She didn't expect to see him. Daniel. He was standing by the elevator looking far more disheveled than the night before, tie loose, shirt untucked, hair messy. There was a tension in his shoulders she had never seen before. And for the first time he looked afraid. Lara, he said, voice quiet. No smirk. No sarcasm. Just recognition. She froze. Her instincts told her to keep walking, to ignore him entirely. But part of her, something she had never fully admitted, wanted to hear what he had to say. You can't keep avoiding this, he continued. I'm not avoiding anything, Lara said, moving past him. Yes, you are, Daniel insisted. Every phone call you don't take. Every email you ignore. You're avoiding me. Lara stopped. Her heart skipped. She had not expected him to confront her here, outside the estate in the realm she controlled. And yet here he was. Why are you here? She asked, tone neutral but firm. I came because you've got contracts on hold, he said, voice cracking slightly. You're suspending deals that thousands of people rely on. Families. Employees. People I care about. I need you to reconsider. Her eyes narrowed. So, this is about money? No, he said quickly, holding up a hand. It's not just money. It's about us. About what we had. About what went wrong. About your pregnancy, about my mother, about everything. Lara's gaze drifted to her belly. She felt the baby move, a tiny kick that seemed to echo her heartbeat. Her chest tightened with a mix of love and fierce protection. I told you last night, she said softly. What went wrong? You didn't listen. You blamed me. You laughed. You let your mother humiliate me. And now you ask me to reconsider? Do you realize what that would mean? Daniel took a step closer, his hands open as if to plead. I know I failed. I know I made mistakes. But we can work through this. We don't have to be enemies. Not like this. Her hand rested on the car door, instinctively placing a barrier between them. She shook her head slowly. Daniel, I'm not your enemy. But you have no idea what it's like to carry betrayal and humiliation in your heart. You've never lived it. And yet you want me to forgive everything, just like that. He winced at the truth in her words. I don't expect it to be easy, he admitted. But I want to try. That's all I'm asking. Lara's lips pressed into a thin line. You want to try? After you laughed? After your mother did that to me? Daniel's shoulders slumped. I can't take back the past. But I can. I can be here now. There was silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Lara could hear the hum of the office above, the chatter of employees, the tapping of keyboards, but it all felt distant. All that mattered was this moment, this confrontation, this fragile thread of connection she had never expected. And then an unexpected announcement came from the front desk. Ms. Benson, the meeting room is ready for your corporate review. Orion Holdings requested your presence immediately. Lara exhaled sharply. The forced proximity of work, and her obligations, pulled them together physically whether they liked it or not. You're coming? Daniel asked cautiously. She shook her head. No. I need to handle this myself. Let me go with you, he said. I don't want to lose control of the situation. And I don't want to lose you. Her eyebrows rose. Lose me? Yes, he said, almost whispering. I've already lost everything else, and I can't let you go too. Lara stared at him. There was something raw and vulnerable in his gaze, something that hadn't been there before. Something that forced her to pause. Fine, she said finally. But don't interfere. And don't act like this changes anything between us. He nodded solemnly. I won't. They walked together into the building. The elevator ride was quiet, the tension nearly unbearable. Their hands brushed as they stepped inside, sending a small electric shock through both of them. Neither acknowledged it. Neither wanted to. Once inside the office, the head of Orion Group, a stern woman named Mrs. Alyamide, greeted them warmly. Miss Benson, I assume you're ready for the quarterly review. Yes, Lara replied, maintaining a composed exterior. Daniel stayed a few steps behind her. He was quiet, subdued, watching. He realized that for the first time Lara was in control of the conversation, of the space, of everything. The meeting lasted over an hour. Numbers, contracts, projections, they all flowed from Lara's lips, precise and deliberate. Daniel noticed how authoritative she sounded, how confident she moved, how clearly she understood the weight of the empire she now commanded. At one point, a miscalculation on the table caused a slight tension. Daniel wanted to step in to correct it, but Lara raised a hand. I've got this, she said, tone calm but commanding. The words hit Daniel like a revelation. He had underestimated her. He had laughed at her. He had dismissed her. And yet, here she was, commanding the room, securing the contracts, proving that everything she had endured had shaped her into someone unstoppable. After the meeting, they exited the building. Lara's eyes flickered to Daniel. You see, she said softly, this is why I can't just forgive and forget. I need respect. I need acknowledgement. I need people to understand I am not powerless. Daniel nodded. I understand. And I respect you. More than I ever did before. Lara looked away, feeling the warmth of her baby move again. Her body was exhausted from emotion, from confrontation, from the weight of responsibility. Yet, in that forced proximity, through necessity and circumstance, they had been compelled to face each other, to confront old wounds, to feel the fragile flicker of connection begin to form. Daniel spoke one last time as they reached her car. Lara, thank you for letting me be here. Even if it's just here. It means a lot. Lara nodded slightly. It's a start. As she drove away, she glanced at him in the rearview mirror. He stood there, silent, watching her leave, reflecting the complexity of a man suddenly aware of how much he had lost, and how much he needed to change. And in that moment, the story's emotional current deepened. They were not yet allies. Not yet healed. Not yet united. But the forced proximity had begun the journey. For the viewers watching this story, the reflection was clear. Sometimes life forces people into the same space, not because they are ready, but because that is the only way they can see each other's truth. Would you confront someone even when your heart resists? The rain had stopped. But the storm inside both of them, anger, pride, shame, hope, was only beginning to gather. The morning sunlight poured through the tall glass windows of Lara's apartment, casting a warm glow on the minimalist decor. The soft hum of the city below contrasted sharply with the storm of memories in her mind. She stood by the window, brushing her damp hair, remembering the first time Daniel had laughed at her ambitions. Years before he married her, before he divorced her, before the humiliation at the family dinner. She could still hear his words, playful but cutting. "You think you can run a company? You're just a girl from a quiet neighborhood. Let's be real, Lara." Her chest tightened as the memory resurfaced. She had felt small then, fragile, vulnerable, but not broken. Not yet. That same strength had carried her through betrayal, abandonment, and now, the power she wielded as CEO of Orion Group. The chime of her phone pulled her from her reverie. It was Kemi, Daniel's sister. "Lara, can you meet me today? I think you should know the truth. About everything." Curious Lara agreed. She drove to a small cafe tucked in a quiet street, where Kemi was already seated, nervously twisting her napkin. The moment Lara arrived, Kemi stood, rushing to her. "I'm so sorry," Kemi whispered, eyes brimming. "I know you've been humiliated. I know what my mother did. But there's more you need to understand." Lara nodded, motioning for her to sit. "I'm listening." Kemi took a deep breath. "You know how my mother always insisted that Daniel should never marry someone outside our social class?" "Yes," Lara said softly, recalling the subtle barbs over the years. "It's worse than you know. When Daniel told her about your pregnancy months ago, she didn't just laugh, she threatened to disown him. She wanted him to leave you immediately, to erase any trace of your life together." Lara's jaw tightened. "So this was all premeditated?" Kemi shook her head quickly. "Not exactly. She's impulsive. Cruel, yes, but she's afraid of losing control. When she poured the water, she thought she was proving dominance. She had no idea about your inheritance." A slow smile crept onto Lara's face. "She humiliated herself more than me." Kemi's eyes widened. "Exactly. And that's why I had to tell you, because there's more. Your father, he knew about your inheritance before anyone else. He tried to reach out, but your mother intercepted every communication." The weight of the revelation sank deep into Lara's chest. For years she had felt powerless in the face of the Benson family's cruelty, but now she understood, her power had been there all along. She had just needed the courage to claim it. "Daniel," Lara whispered almost to herself. "He's been caught in the middle all this time." "Yes," Kemi admitted. "And he didn't know how to act. He loved you, but he was manipulated by my mother. He didn't know whether to protect you or protect himself." Lara's hands rested on her belly. The baby kicked once, lightly, as if affirming the truth. "So he really didn't know?" "No," Kemi said. He just didn't understand what you were capable of. And he's only just beginning to realize it." The conversation stirred another memory, one that had been buried for years. Lara recalled the first business meeting she had attended as a young woman, the way Daniel had laughed when she presented her ideas. He had not laughed to mock her, at least not entirely, but because he couldn't imagine that she could command a room, negotiate contracts, or build influence. The memory stung, but it no longer wounded her. Instead, it reminded her of how far she had come. Later that evening, Lara returned to Orion Group's headquarters. The city lights reflected off the polished marble floors, and the hum of activity was comforting. Daniel was already there, waiting outside the boardroom. His expression had shifted from frustration to tentative curiosity, the kind that showed a person grappling with unexpected truths. "Lara," he said cautiously. "Kemi told you everything?" She nodded. "I did. And now I understand why you acted the way you did." His eyes softened. "I still feel guilty." "Guilt doesn't fix anything," Lara replied. "Understanding does." There was a pause, a silence weighted with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Daniel spoke again. "I was blind. I didn't see your strength. I didn't see what you endured. I didn't see how much you were capable of. And now, I do." Lara studied him carefully. There was vulnerability there, raw and unpolished. Not prideful, not arrogant, just the man she had loved, stripped down to his essential self. "And yet you laughed at me," she said quietly. "And let your mother humiliate me." "I know," he admitted, his voice low. "And I hated myself for it the moment it happened." The confession hung in the air, heavy but necessary. Lara felt the tiniest shift in her heart, a spark of something that had been buried beneath layers of betrayal and hurt. "You need to understand," she said softly, "that I didn't need to destroy your family to prove myself. I only needed to assert my own worth. And now you see it." He nodded. "Yes, and I'm trying to see it clearly, not through my mother's eyes, not through my ego but through yours. The words hit her unexpectedly. For years she had wanted him to acknowledge her, not as his wife, not as his ex-wife, but as a person of her own power. And now he was finally beginning to understand. As Lara prepared to leave, Daniel hesitated. There's one more thing I need to ask. She turned, curious but guarded. Would you consider letting me be part of your child's life? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. Lara paused, taking a deep breath. The question was loaded, heavy with past hurt, present reality, and future possibility. I'll consider it, she said finally, carefully. But you have to earn it. Not with words but with actions. You have to show me and our child that you're capable of respect, honesty, and accountability. Daniel's eyes glimmered with unshed tears. I will, he whispered. And in that moment, Lara felt a subtle but undeniable shift, the first step toward healing, reconciliation, and connection. As she walked away, she reflected quietly, as if speaking to every viewer who had been following her journey. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from uncovering the truth about ourselves and others. When the past is revealed, will you rise, or will you fall? The night was quiet, but inside Lara the emotional current surged. She was no longer simply a victim of circumstance. She was a force to be reckoned with. And now, with Daniel beginning to understand, the stage was set for the next chapter. One of vulnerability, connection, and the fragile dance between love and pride. The weekend arrived, and Lara found herself standing in the middle of her spacious apartment, the sunlight filtering softly through sheer curtains. The city hummed below, but inside there was a rare quiet. She had spent the morning organizing baby clothes, folding tiny onesies and laying them neatly in a dresser. It was peaceful, an oasis after the storm of the past week, but it felt incomplete. A soft knock at the door startled her. She wiped her hands on a towel and approached cautiously. When she opened it, Daniel was standing there. Not with a smug grin, not with arrogance, but with a tentative gentleness she had never seen from him before. His eyes were sober, sincere, carrying the weight of someone trying to make amends. Lara, he began softly. I know you told me last night that I have to earn anything, but I'd like to start. She crossed her arms, wary. Start what? Being part of your life, he said, stepping closer but not too close. Yours, the baby's, even if it's just small things at first. I want to show you I can be trusted. Her gaze flickered to her belly. The baby shifted, as if nudging her toward consideration. She took a slow breath. You're serious? Yes, he said, almost pleading. Completely. For a long moment, Lara studied him. She could see traces of the man she had once loved, now tempered by humility and awareness. She nodded once. Okay. But on one condition. You follow my rules. And you respect my boundaries. No interference, no overstepping. And you do not involve your mother. Daniel's shoulders relaxed slightly. Agreed. The first week of tentative interactions began. Daniel helped with small things, picking up groceries for Lara when she was too tired, checking in on her well-being via brief texts, sometimes calling just to ask how she felt. Every interaction was careful, respectful, a stark contrast to the arrogance he had shown before. Lara found herself observing him in a new light. She noticed how he genuinely listened, how he smiled when her belly twitched, how he laughed quietly at the baby's kicks as if recognizing them as tiny miracles. One evening, Daniel knocked softly and asked if he could accompany her to a prenatal appointment. Lara hesitated but agreed. In the car, the silence was comfortable rather than awkward. The city lights streamed past, casting fleeting shadows on Daniel's face. For the first time, Lara didn't feel defensive. She simply observed him, noticing the quiet resolve in his posture, the subtle worry in his eyes, the effort to remain present without overstepping. At the clinic, Daniel waited in the small waiting area. He fidgeted slightly, his fingers tapping nervously against the armrest. When Lara emerged from the doctor's office, she smiled briefly at him. Everything's fine, she said softly. Baby's healthy. Daniel exhaled, relief flooding his features. Good. I was worried. You're allowed, Lara replied lightly, placing a hand on her belly. They walked back to the car together. The city felt quieter somehow, the night gentler. And for the first time since the family dinner disaster, there was a sense of tentative peace between them. Over the next few days, they shared small moments that began to weave trust between them. Daniel would read aloud to Lara from her favorite novels while she rested. He would make coffee in the mornings, careful to place it exactly where she liked it. Lara, in turn, allowed herself small smiles, subtle gestures of appreciation, and occasional laughter at Daniel's awkward attempts to be considerate. One afternoon, Lara decided to show Daniel her private workspace at Orion Group. The office was sleek, organized, yet personal. Photos of her late grandfather, inspirational quotes, and neatly stacked reports. Daniel's eyes lingered on everything with admiration rather than envy. "You built all this?" he asked softly, as if afraid to offend. "Yes," she replied. "All of it. And it wasn't easy." "I can see that," he said, voice quiet. I underestimated you for so long." Lara looked at him carefully. "And yet here you are trying." He nodded, a small, sincere smile tugging at his lips. "Because I don't want to underestimate you again." One evening, as they shared a quiet dinner at Lara's apartment, the baby kicked suddenly, causing Lara to gasp and laugh. Daniel reached over instinctively, pressing a gentle hand to her belly. "Hello in there," he whispered softly, eyes wide with awe. "I can't wait to meet you." Lara watched him. The tenderness in his voice, the reverence in his expression, it struck a chord deep in her chest. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine a future where he could be part of their child's life, a man capable of growth, humility, and love. "You're different now," she said softly. "I had to be," he admitted. "I lost sight of what mattered. And now, I want to make it right." For the first time, Lara didn't question the words. She simply felt their weight, their sincerity. Later, Daniel suggested they take a short walk in the nearby park. The crisp evening air was refreshing, and the soft glow of streetlights cast long shadows on the pavement. They walked side by side, careful not to touch, yet close enough to feel each other's presence. "Do you remember the park near my old apartment?" Daniel asked quietly. Lara nodded. "I remember. You used to come here and read to me on weekends. Before everything fell apart." He glanced at her, a small smile playing on his lips. "I remember too. I wasn't a very good partner back then. I was careless, arrogant, unaware of what you needed. But being here now, I see how much I missed, how much I failed to appreciate." Lara exhaled softly. "And now, he said, his voice breaking slightly, "I want to try. Even if it's slow. Even if it's imperfect. I want to be someone you can trust. Someone who can be part of your life, with the baby." The words hung in the air like a fragile promise. Lara looked down, feeling the baby shift again. She felt a mixture of hope, caution, and a flicker of warmth she hadn't experienced in years. "You're tentative," she said softly. "I can see it. But I also see sincerity. And that's something." Daniel reached out, lightly brushing her hand. "I'll take any chance you give me." For a moment they simply stood there, letting the silence speak. The tension of the past week, the humiliation, the betrayal, the anger, felt distant, replaced by a fragile, budding connection. Lara realized that while the journey ahead would not be simple, for the first time in a long time, she could imagine trust. She could imagine growth. She could imagine reconciliation. And for the viewers following this emotional journey, the reflection was clear. When someone shows genuine effort after causing pain, do you allow yourself to believe in change, or do you close the door forever? The night ended with Lara and Daniel walking back to her apartment, the city lights shimmering around them. They had not yet healed completely, but the first fragile bond had formed. The storm was far from over, but for the first time, hope had arrived. The morning sun struggled through thick gray clouds. Rain threatened again, a low, persistent drizzle that seemed to mirror Lara's mood. She was in her apartment, reviewing important Orion Group contracts, when her phone buzzed insistently. It was a message from Daniel. "We need to talk. Please. It's urgent." Her fingers hovered over the screen. She wanted to ignore it, to focus on work, to keep the fragile peace they had built. But curiosity and a flicker of lingering attachment pulled her toward the message. "Fine," she replied. "Call me. 30 minutes. My apartment." When Daniel arrived, his expression was tense, almost desperate. There was something unspoken in his eyes, a heaviness that immediately set Lara on edge. "What is it?" she asked, voice steady but cautious. He hesitated, avoiding her gaze. "It's my mother. She found out about the baby. And she's furious. She said some things, Lara. Things I don't agree with. Things that might ruin everything we've tried to rebuild." Lara's chest tightened. She could feel her heartbeat quicken. "And you didn't tell me sooner?" "I wanted to protect you," he said quickly. "I thought I could handle it." "You thought you could handle it?" she repeated, disbelief sharp in her tone. "Daniel, every time you say that, it means you're going to let someone else interfere in our lives. Again. His jaw clenched. She's my mother. I can't just ignore her. And you can't just follow your mother like before either, Lara shot back, voice rising slightly. Do you realize how close you are to repeating the same mistakes? Before Daniel could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at it and froze. It's my mother, he muttered. She wants to speak to you. Lara's hands curled into fists. She wants to speak to me? Yes, Daniel said, hesitant. I didn't expect her to call, but... Lara inhaled sharply. Fine. Let's get this over with. She took the phone as Daniel handed it to her. On the other end, Mrs. Benson's voice was sharp, cold, venomous, every word dripping with contempt. Lara, she began, how dare you humiliate my family? How dare you use your inheritance to threaten us? Daniel is my son and you... Stop. Lara interrupted, voice cutting like steel. I did not humiliate you. You humiliated yourself. And Daniel's love, or lack thereof, had nothing to do with my choices. Every decision I make is mine and mine alone. Now, if you continue this, I will remove every contract, every deal, every connection your family has with Orion Group. The line went silent for a moment. Then Mrs. Benson's laugh, cold, sharp, and full of disbelief, echoed through the speaker. You dare threaten me? After all I've done for your husband? After everything your family owes us? Lara's fingers tightened around the phone. Everything I do now protects my child and my life. Nothing else matters. You think you can intimidate me? Mrs. Benson spat. Do you know who I am? Yes, Lara said, voice firm and unwavering. And I know that being rich or being a matriarch does not make you moral. And it certainly doesn't make you untouchable. Daniel stood beside her, looking conflicted. Mom, please, he murmured. Don't. Daniel, Lara said, sharp and unwavering, this isn't about you right now. It's about what's right. Mrs. Benson's scream reverberated through the line. You will pay for this. You will regret. Lara hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. Daniel looked at her, a mix of admiration and fear in his eyes. You did it, he whispered. You actually told her off. Lara's hands were trembling slightly. I don't have time for fear or manipulation, Daniel. I can't. Not for me, not for my baby. He exhaled slowly, looking down at the floor. I knew you were strong, but I didn't expect you to. I mean, my mom. You see, Lara interrupted. Even now, you're still caught between protecting your mother and protecting your child. This is exactly what I warned you about. And yet, you didn't stop her. His jaw tightened. I thought I could mediate. I thought I could. Thoughts aren't enough. Lara's voice cracked slightly, both with frustration and sorrow. Actions are. And your inaction just shattered the trust one was starting to give you. Daniel's shoulders slumped. I didn't realize it would hurt you this much. Lara's eyes welled with tears, the weight of betrayal and repeated disappointment crashing down. Do you understand now? She asked, voice trembling. Do you understand why it's so hard to let anyone in? Daniel shook his head slowly, guilt and frustration mingling on his face. I understand. I swear I do. I just what? She demanded. Just couldn't choose me over her? Daniel looked down, silent. And in that silence, Lara felt the full force of the shatter point. The fragile bond they had begun building was cracking, splintering under the weight of old patterns, family interference, and unhealed pride. Tears streaked Lara's cheeks. She stepped back, her body tense. I trusted you, Daniel. I believed you could be different. I believed you could see me as I truly am. And yet, here we are, the same story repeating. Daniel's eyes shone with unshed tears. I don't want to lose you. I never wanted this. But you did, Lara whispered. You lost me. Again. Just like before. This time it's worse. Because now there's a life depending on me, on both of us, and I cannot allow your hesitation or fear to endanger that. He reached out tentatively as if trying to bridge the widening chasm, but she stepped back. Don't, she said, voice low but firm. Not yet. Not until you truly prove that you are ready. Not with words. Not with promises. With actions. Daniel's lips quivered. I'll do anything. Then start by choosing correctly, Lara said, eyes blazing. Choose me. Choose our child. Choose what's right. Otherwise, you'll regret this forever. She turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone in her apartment. His body ached with guilt, frustration, and the sharp sting of realizing how fragile love and trust can be, especially when repeatedly tested. Outside, rain began to fall, mirroring the storm inside Daniel's heart. He watched as Lara disappeared from view, understanding fully that the consequences of inaction had never been more profound. For the viewers following this story, the reflection was clear. Sometimes the people we love can break us, not intentionally but through indecision and fear. Would you wait for someone to choose you, or walk away before they hurt you again? Lara closed her apartment door behind her, leaving behind a man struggling to reconcile love, guilt, and the harsh truth of his mother's manipulations. The fragile bond they had begun to form lay in pieces, scattered by circumstance, pride, and unresolved wounds. The evening sky over the city was streaked with orange and purple as Daniel sat alone on the balcony of his apartment. The hum of traffic below was distant, almost soothing, but inside him, turmoil raged. He could still see Lara's expression from that morning, so resolute, so fiery, so unwilling to compromise her values for anyone, even for him. His hands trembled slightly as he gripped the railing. He had spent hours replaying the confrontation in his mind, analyzing every word, every gesture, every failed attempt at loyalty. "Do you choose me, or her?" Lara's words echoed relentlessly. He had always thought he knew what choice he would make in love. But now, with the weight of his mother's interference, the memory of his ex-wife's humiliation, and the undeniable power and independence Lara wielded, he felt paralyzed. He closed his eyes and remembered their first tentative moments of reconciliation. The quiet dinners, the small gestures of care, the way she had allowed him into her life slowly, cautiously. He remembered the laughter they had shared during the prenatal appointment, and the way their baby's kicks had bridged the distance between them. He remembered her strength, her resolve, her refusal to allow anyone, him included, to control her life. And he realized, painfully, that love was not about control or influence. It was about choice. It was about deciding to stand beside someone, fully, even when fear or pride or past mistakes tempted him to step away. Meanwhile, Lara was in her apartment, pacing the floor. The apartment felt too quiet, too still. The baby stirred gently in her belly, and she placed a hand over it, feeling a tiny kick that made her smile despite the storm inside her. Her thoughts went back to Daniel. She could feel the tension, the uncertainty. He had the chance to make the right choice, to be present, to support her and their child, to prove that he could rise above fear and family manipulation. But could he? Could he finally see her as an equal, a partner, a mother worthy of respect and trust? She sat down heavily, resting her forehead against the cool window glass. "I can't beg him," she whispered to herself. "I can't. He has to choose on his own. I've already done everything I can." Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. "I'm coming over. I need to speak with you. Please." She stared at it, heart pounding. She knew this was the moment, the reckoning, the decision. She could either close herself off completely or let him try, fully, without fear of being hurt again. Taking a deep breath, she typed back, "Come. We need to settle this. Honestly. Completely." Daniel arrived 20 minutes later. The rain had started again, soft but persistent, pattering against the car roof as he parked. He entered Lara's apartment without knocking, hands in pockets, eyes cast downward. Lara met him at the door, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. The tension was palpable, heavy with the weight of all that had happened. "Daniel," she began, voice steady but firm, "this is it. No games. No excuses. I need to know if you're choosing us, your child, me, or if you're stepping back again because of your mother, because of fear, or because of pride." Daniel swallowed hard, the words hitting him like a punch to the chest. I've been a fool," he said, voice breaking. "I allowed fear, pride, and the shadows of my family's influence to cloud what I truly wanted. And what I want is you. And our child. I want to be present. I want to be part of your life if you'll allow me." Lara's heart thudded in her chest. The vulnerability in his voice, the raw honesty, it was everything she had been waiting for, but she couldn't let herself respond too quickly. She needed to be sure. "You've said words before," she said carefully. "And I've been hurt before. I need more than words, Daniel. I need commitment, action, proof that you are capable of choosing what's right." "I understand," he said, stepping closer, his eyes locked on hers. "I've already begun. I'm cutting ties with my mother. I'm telling her that she has no influence over our child, over you, over me. And I'm willing to do anything, everything, to rebuild the trust one broke." Lara studied him for a long moment. She noticed the sincerity in his posture, the tension in his hands, the slight quiver in his voice. She could see that he was choosing, to stand fully beside her, fully present. "Daniel," she said quietly, "this is your last chance. Do you truly fully choose us? No hesitations. No half measures. No looking back." He reached out, taking her hands in his, gentle but firm. "I do. I fully choose you. I choose us. I choose our family. No hesitation. No half measures. No looking back." For the first time in months, Lara felt the tension between them shift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a sense of calm, relief, and hope began to fill the space. The rain outside intensified slightly, pattering against the windows like a cleansing drumbeat. It felt symbolic. A storm had passed and now the air was fresh, charged with possibility. Lara's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "Then let's start anew," she whispered. "Fully. Honestly. With everything on the table." Daniel nodded, relief flooding his features. He leaned forward and kissed her forehead softly, reverently, as if acknowledging the gravity of her strength and the courage she had shown in demanding his full commitment. They stood there for a long moment, hands intertwined, hearts aligned, the weight of the past finally giving way to a shared future. Later that night, as they sat together on the balcony watching the rain taper off, Lara spoke softly. "I was afraid. Afraid that you would choose the easier path, the path of comfort, the path of your mother's influence. But now, I believe in you. And I believe in us." Daniel's hand covered hers, thumb brushing gently over her knuckles. "I don't deserve your trust yet. But I will earn it. Every single day. I'll prove that I can be the man you, and our child, deserve." The city below glowed with streetlights, a quiet serenity settling over the night. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Lara allowed herself to hope fully, to breathe fully, to imagine a life where love, respect, and partnership could coexist. For the viewers, the reflection was unmistakable. When someone truly chooses you after betrayal and fear, do you open your heart fully, or hold back? Can love survive the test of choice? The morning sun streamed warmly through Lara's apartment, catching the soft glint of her engagement ring, an unspoken symbol of renewal, hope, and choice. Daniel stood beside her, hands folded over hers, eyes brimming with quiet reverence and relief. The apartment felt alive, the air charged with a sense of new beginnings. Their baby stirred, shifting gently, and Lara felt a light kick. She laughed softly, placing her hand over her belly. "I think someone's excited," she murmured. Daniel bent slightly, whispering, "I can feel it too." There was no need for elaborate words, just the shared understanding of a family beginning to form, not from circumstance, but from deliberate choice, honesty, and love. Later, Lara arranged a small celebratory gathering, not for extravagance but for closure. Friends who had supported her, colleagues who had witnessed her journey, and the few family members who had chosen respect over control were present. Daniel helped set the table, quiet, attentive, and wholly present. Mrs. Benson, however, was not invited. She had been confronted, dismissed, and made to understand that her manipulations no longer held sway. And though Daniel still loved his mother, he had learned that loyalty to family did not mean sacrificing truth, justice, or love. As Lara moved through the room, she could feel the eyes of everyone present on her, not with pity, not with judgment, but with admiration. She had endured humiliation, betrayal, and the storm of public spectacle, yet she stood tall, resolute, and victorious. Daniel caught her eye and smiled faintly. There was no arrogance in the look, only recognition. Recognition of her strength, her resilience, and the love she had refused to let anyone diminish. "You've truly amazed me," he whispered quietly, stepping closer. Lara smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "And you've proven yourself too," she replied softly. "It hasn't been easy, but you chose well in the end. That matters more than you realize." As the evening progressed, the soft glow of candles and lamplight filled the room. Guests mingled, laughed, and celebrated quietly, but Lara and Daniel shared a space apart, a moment that belonged only to them. "I've learned something," Daniel said softly, watching her profile as she cradled her belly. "I've learned that love isn't just about desire. It's about respect, trust, and the courage to make the right choice, even when it's difficult." Lara turned, eyes reflecting both warmth and strength. "And I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means acknowledging pain, setting boundaries, and still allowing someone the chance to grow. You've done that, Daniel." He nodded, swallowing emotion. "I hope I can keep proving it. For you. For our child. For us." A tiny kick interrupted the moment, and both of them laughed softly. The baby's movement was a gentle reminder of the life they were now co-creating, a tangible symbol of hope and new beginnings. Days turned into weeks and life slowly regained a rhythm. Daniel became an active presence in Lara's life, supporting her through appointments, helping with preparations for the baby's arrival, and demonstrating the kind of consistency and accountability that had been absent before. One quiet evening they sat on the balcony together, the city lights flickering below. The air was crisp, filled with the faint scent of rain from an earlier storm. Lara rested her head on Daniel's shoulder, her hand brushing gently against his. "Do you ever think about that night?" Daniel asked, voice soft, almost hesitant. "The family dinner, the humiliation, the chaos?" Lara exhaled slowly, memories surfacing like waves. "I do," she admitted. "But I don't dwell on it. That night was a turning point, not the end. It forced me to confront who I was, who I wanted to be, and what I wouldn't tolerate. And it forced you to choose, truly choose. I think it was necessary." Daniel nodded, eyes distant for a moment. "It was. And I regret my hesitation. But I'm grateful for the chance to make it right. For the chance to be here with you and our child." The words hung between them, weighted with honesty and hope. Lara's heart softened completely for the first time in months. She allowed herself to lean further into him, to feel the warmth of his embrace, and to imagine the life ahead, a life built on trust, respect, and shared strength. The arrival of their child marked the ultimate resolution. Lara held the tiny bundle in her arms, overwhelmed by emotion. Daniel stood beside her, tears glistening in his eyes as he reached out to touch the newborn's hand. "You're perfect," he whispered. Lara smiled softly, brushing back a tear. "Yes, and you chose to be here. That's what makes everything perfect." He looked at her, a mixture of gratitude, reverence, and renewed love in his gaze. "I'll spend every day proving that I deserve this. That I deserve you. That I deserve our family." The baby stirred again, kicking lightly. Lara laughed, a sound of pure joy. "I think someone agrees with you." And in that simple, profound moment, the first full embrace of family, choice, and love, the story's central tension resolved. The humiliation, the betrayal, the fear of loss, all of it had given way to connection, understanding, and emotional triumph. For the viewers, the reflection question was clear. When life gives you a second chance, will you allow love to flourish or let past pain hold you back? Later, Daniel gently kissed Lara's forehead. "Thank you," he whispered, "for trusting me, for allowing me to choose correctly, for showing me what it truly means to love." Lara smiled, a radiant, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "We chose each other. That's what matters. Always." The city outside was quiet now, the soft hum of night creating a gentle backdrop. Inside there was laughter, soft whispers, and the heartbeat of a new family beginning. A life that had once been fractured by ego, pride, and manipulation had now found redemption, connection, and love. The humiliation of the family dinner, the cruel laughter, and the pouring of water had once threatened to destroy Lara. But now she had risen, fully empowered, claiming her worth. Daniel had chosen correctly, proving that even fractured love can heal when choices are made with courage and integrity. No matter the betrayal, no matter the pride, no matter the pain, the story emphasizes that love at last, unexpected love, and redemption are always possible when honesty, respect, and courage guide the heart. And as Lara held her child close, Daniel's hand on her shoulder, the final, unspoken truth resonated. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from revenge but from love, choice, and the courage to rise above all that tried to break you.